ready?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
With that, I will go ahead and call to order the meeting of June 3rd with a roll call vote, a roll call attendance. Cutler,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Here.
Bradshaw,
Present.
McLean.
Here.
Maysfield is present. Please note Curtis and Everly are absent with notice. I'd like to entertain a motion consideration of the meeting agenda for tonight.
Move approval as noted.
Support.
So agenda approved by Bradshaw, support by McLean.
We should vote on it. All those in favor?
Yes, we should. Any further comments?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
With that, I'll open the public comment section of the meeting up. So this is a brief comment section up to 2 minutes. If there's something you want to bring before this commission or share with this commission that is not currently part of the agenda, you may do that now. You can also note we have a public comment session at the end of this meeting. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment section of the meeting and move on to consideration of the meeting minutes from the May 19th meeting. Are there any changes or adjustments that need to be made to those?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 19th.
Support.
So motion made by McLean and support by, was that you, Diane?
Yes.
Cutler? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Are there any conflicts of interest with the items on tonight's agenda, which include 2 new business items, both of which are public hearings? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to new business. So the first item before us is a public hearing and special land use for parcel 412330 419 located at 9757 Craft. That is the sign that I heard a couple of you talking about. Ms. Linnea, you want to take
All
us through
right,
high level
sure.
and then I'll open public comment.
Yep. So this is for Caledonia Public Schools. They've submitted an application for special land use at 9757 Craft. The special land use request is to have a sign that is larger and taller than what we allow in the R2 zoning district. They're also looking for a deviation from Chapter 19, Section 19.14. Or I'm sorry, that is the section for the height and the area. They're looking for a deviation from Section 3.50E6. That's our lighting chapter. The lighting chapter requires a dark background on a sign and that the lettering is light, transparent to show the illumination in the evenings. You'll note that Caledonia Public Schools has a sign package for several of their elementary and administrative and high school buildings that are, some of them are installed. So they're looking for this sign here at the YMCA and Calplex to be 7 feet tall, 2 inches, and 70 square feet in area. We allow 32 square feet, so they're looking for more than double what we allow in terms of area, and an additional foot and 2 inches, so 14 inches of height. Back in 2023, when we approved this project, they also asked for additional signage. This is for the wall sign, and we gave them an additional 67 square feet of signage for that wall sign. We have 2 standards to consider for signage. One is that it's justified based on the nature, size, location or density of the development. You know, our comments are that it may be justified. It may not. I mean, certainly there is visibility of kind of any sign out there. There isn't a lot of sign clutter. We are not on Broadmoor. There aren't high speeds. We do understand that they have a sign package, but there are examples of smaller signs that they're doing with that sign package. The other is that modification of the requirements will not result in traffic or other safety hazards. I did bring up the concern about the placement of the sign at the driveway and it potentially blocking the visibility of people crossing the mid-block crossing and then accessing the YMCA. There's a lot of intentional connection between the elementary schools and the pathway on the east side of Craft to access this YMCA. So a question is raised in this report, you know, could the sign be moved north of that bike path? The applicant did submit an email to me after reading the report and kind of questioned and said that they did analyze that sign placement and the view that a driver would have of the pathway. And they did state that they still wanted to have the white sign and not the dark background. But I let them know that our ordinance does not allow a deviation from that. Only the deviation from size and height. So that's what I have on that. It is a public hearing.
Yeah, great. So with that, thank you for walking us through that. With that, I will open the public hearing section of this specific item up. Yeah. No worries.
My name is Tom Kaywood. I'm working with Caledonia Community Schools on their sign package. I didn't do the original project, so I wasn't quite sure about the original sign component. But I'm just here to ask, I mean, there was a great summary, everything's accurate. The reason we went with the bigger sign is because it's a combination of our project along with the YMCA. And the YMCA has national standards that kind of talk about the proportions of their sign. So if we were gonna have a road sign or monument sign, they wanted us to comply with theirs, and then Caledonia has their kind of standard sign package that they put together too, just for wayfinding and recognition, brand recognition. So that's why we asked for the larger sign. I do understand your concerns with the location. That makes a lot of sense. We've done a few other signs in the district. We do try to keep a 40 feet distance at least back. That varies a little bit based on where the sidewalks are and parking lot. But that allows for the driver that's approaching that intersection and the car behind them to prepare as they enter traffic. And then the last piece that I sent an image of, I'm not sure if that gets circulated, but our sign packages, the backlit ones aren't your typical backlit ones. They're not like super bright and for the halo effect. What we try to do is just use like the halo on the outside of the, like side light the letters. So it's not, I took a picture of like the LED signs and how bright they are and how distracting they can be when they flash and stuff. This isn't one of those. This is just something, it's very simple with the brand letters. So it's raised lettering. It is backlit, so I understand the standard. So, but we just wanted to continue with our brand. If you have questions.
So, before you sit down, you're representing Caledonia Schools tonight, or you're representing this request in front of us?
Yes.
Okay, so are there any other people from the general public that have any comments on this specific motion? Okay, with that, I'm just gonna close the public hearing session. You can stay up here and I'll
Okay.
open it up to the commissioners. I do wanna say just one thing. So like, this board, we cannot really deviate from the standard that is out there in terms of the illumination and the sign. That isn't is something that we, the way it's written, it doesn't currently allow for us to deviate from that.
Sure.
So as we talk about this, I think this board can talk about size of sign. Also, I think safety is always the first concern on all of us, but I think just general in sign, the sign size. So with that, I'll open it up to the commission. What questions do you have for Tom, or initial thoughts that we need to?
I guess mine would be, so what I'm hearing is the main reason that you want the bigger sign is because of the requirements of the YMCA?
It's both. There's a YMCA and the Caledonia schools are, they have the combined facility. So there's two brands there, and the proportions of the YMCA ones drove the sign size. Because we have 3 different sizes of signs in the district currently.
Right.
But yeah, that's the one that's driving the right half of it.
Okay.
That's correct.
I do think from the building itself, the building it's pretty apparent when you drive by the building that it's a kind of co-branded just within the signs on the building. You kind of know that it's there. So my first inkling is like, this feels like a really big sign. And we have had a lot of traffic concerns with some of those spaces. But
So just traveling the region, I've gone by the Spartan Nash YMCA quite a bit recently for some of the work I've been doing down in the Wyoming area. And just pulling up their sign, maybe Metro Health and Spartan Nash standards are different than the schools, but we're able to fit a lot of different brands on one much smaller sign. And certainly you're more here to represent the schools, but I don't know, just smaller would be better is where I'm landing, and there's precedent nearby. Is really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
well, I think the Mary Free Bread Y also sign is not anything that I would take notice of, oh my goodness, that sign is so big. Like when I drove by I just drove by there Saturday, which also then includes driving by some of the other Caledonia school signs, and I'm like, wow, that is a really big sign placement on the opposite side of the road. Tim, do you have a thought on?
I was just checking to see if I could find dimensions on any of their other locations, and it does look like they are in the fine print here. Yeah, like the elementary schools are a little bit smaller than what's proposed. I mean, is it possible to meet the school standard? And so the elementary school sign dimensions are 10 feet across, where the one that's suggested here in front of us is 14. Is there any way that we could get to 10?
I can definitely explore it we can do it for sure. We've done it already.
Right.
It's just when you do the proportions of the YMCA sign, it just shrinks it enough. It was their recommendation, not ours. I'm just representing the YMCA part of the sign,
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I can go back to them and ask them that for sure. I think there's also the sign color part of that too. That's their brand colors and their brand standards. So I'd have to check that with them as well.
The one in Wyoming is orange and red, but maybe their brand has changed since then.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of ridiculous when they sent it to me as well, because I had like a 5-page email on just one little logo, so. And I can give you guys those standards if you wanted to see that. I can forward an email if that's appropriate, if that would help. But otherwise, if it's a moot point, I understand that as well.
Do we know how the other signs got approved?
Because they're on entirely school property, they
And
don't,
This is not?
right.
So,
This is because it's a mixed use, I think is why we see it.
okay.
Versus we didn't get to review any of the others because I believe the state does that review process.
That's correct.
That answers my second question.
What other questions, thoughts? I'm hearing, it's like, obviously, we can approve the request as is, just keeping in mind the lighting piece. I do think we should talk about the traffic. We've got a potential table motion in front, coming back with exploring potential sizes, but I think then I'd want to at least give you some guidance on kind of what seems like an appropriate size. Lene, what are the dimensions that are allowed?
We allow 32 square feet.
Total, however
Total.
that's.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the sign itself. I don't believe that includes the monument base, right? So that would just be the sign cabinet.
Which is your typical 8x4 sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
Yep, it's 8x4, yep, yep. Do you know, Tom, the dimension of just the sign itself for the elementary schools that are on this sheet that you shared?
No, I could probably pull it up on my phone if you wanted me to, but,
It looks like it's 10 feet by 3'4",
In height?
10
Yeah.
feet wide by 3'4" tall, but
Mhm.
that's
On top
sitting
of the
on
base,
top
so,
of a
right.
brick, like, base, so I'm not counting
Mhm.
that portion.
And some of that 10 includes the address?
Yes. That'd be roughly
Maybe
20
8?
inches is the address portion.
Yeah. So it could maybe be like 9 by 3. I mean, this could be 32 square feet without the address.
I can verify that
Okay.
for you if you'd like. I just,
In the mounting block,
Yes, we don't have a way to vary that.
right.
So if we wanted more information, Lene, a path forward might be to table this, awaiting
Mhm.
a new design closer to the elementary school design for us to review at a future meeting.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, or if you're able to do it within our standards, you wouldn't have to come back, but if there's
Yeah.
something closer.
Sure.
But the background itself, though, so you'll
That was
have
my
to
question.
rethink that scheme.
So we can't get a variance for the color of the light?
No.
Okay. All right. I'll take it back and let them know. I appreciate your consideration, though. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, I
welcome.
guess
Any other
to
I'll
officially
entertain
yeah.
a motion.
I'll make a motion that we table this item, giving the applicant direction that we're interested in a smaller sign, more in line with their standard elementary school signs, and that we don't have really any flexibility on the lighting standards portion. That's my motion.
So motion by Bradshaw,
Support.
support by Lindsay. I'll do a roll call vote. McLean,
Yes, support.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Macefield, support.
Yes. Yes.
Cutler. So motion tabled. And thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it.
The next order of business is also a public hearing for special land use on 6633 Concrete Drive for a shift of including process of light manufacturing on concrete grinding. I'll go ahead and Ms. Linne, you want to
Okay.
take us through?
I believe Mr. Dykema is here today.
Okay.
This is a special land use, as you mentioned, for light manufacturing, including the processes of grinding or otherwise processing raw products for wholesale. The applicant is seeking to crush concrete on site for up to 3 weeks per year. They would bring a crusher onto the property and do that activity between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, during that 3-week time frame. So that would be 15 days. We should clarify, though, one of the items that was submitted said 4 weeks, but the narrative said 3 weeks, and that's what we put in the hearing notice. So it would be 3 weeks. The narrative talks about the applicant building a stockpile of broken concrete between 7,000 and 10,000 tons of material. And then the third-party crushing operation would come onto the site and run that through the crusher. They would create a stockpile of the 21 AA recycled crushed concrete. The double bottom gravel trains would transport that out of the property once it's sold. They would produce 48 to 54 tons of concrete that would be crushed, or after crushing. The trucks would be loaded with a loader that's already at the plant. So there's already a concrete plant here, as you know. And they would take Concrete Drive to 68th Street. The crushing operator follows MIOSHA to keep noise and equipment operating in a safe manner. They have worked with this crusher in the past. They said that the crusher will monitor noise and dust from any neighbors. There wasn't a specific dust kind of mitigation strategy other than the fact that the site is wooded on, I think, about 3 sides where that crushing would occur, where the pile would occur. I also had the question about how tall that pile would be at the tallest during the operation. We do have special land use standards for light manufacturing. We did find that the 2-acre minimum is met. The buildings and the distance from the crushing operation was 1,200 feet from 68th Street, so quite a distance. The maneuvering, loading, and parking is provided. It's already used for concrete and block fabrication. The driveways are existing. 68th Street has a center turn lane to help accommodate the truck traffic. It is an industrial corridor, and this is a typical type of industrial use. Outdoor storage shall be screened, and they're screened by that existing woodlands as well as the buildings that are south of it on Concrete Drive, and that the driveways and parking areas should be paved. There are areas of paved parking, but the area with the stockpiles and where they're maneuvering specifically is just the crushed gravel. Our general standards for special land use talk about the use not having a substantial adverse effect on adjoining property. The nearby uses and buildings are also light industrial, so we didn't think it would have an adverse effect. The standard on traffic, again, I mentioned earlier that the road is existing and 68th is existing and already used for truck traffic and industrial uses. I do want to call your attention to the engineer's report where he recommends that a drainage basin be built. The basin that's on site, while it's there, he believes it doesn't have adequate capacity to handle the runoff from this part of the operation. As well, he questioned some of the quality of of the runoff from the gravel. The gravel, when it's crushed, has a pH level that he would like to see mitigated or handled in that drainage facility. He also mentioned that there are wetlands on the property, and the wetlands are not shown on the site plan. So he would like to see those wetlands delineated. He has seen that there is a wetland delineation, they're just not on this plan, and he would like that brought into that plan. Item C about substantial adverse effect on fire or public safety. We didn't see that there would be, given this use. D about protection of natural features. The comment earlier about showing the wetlands. We want to make sure that this is outside of the wetlands. We don't see that additional trees are being removed with this, but I think that's a question for the applicant. Vehicle and pedestrian traffic, there's no change to the way that circulation happens on site. The sewage disposal water supply, the use is not anticipated to require any connection to water and sewer services. So we found that that standard would be met. The hours of operation are reasonable. They're typical business hours, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, up to 15 days per year. People have said that crushing operations can be loud, but this is in an industrial area. There are not there are not neighborhoods nearby. And that the special use shall not create excessive additional demand at public cost for public facilities and services. We're not anticipating that this use would require any additional demand for public facilities. In fact, I mean, I guess you could make the case that the crushed gravel will be utilized to construct public facilities. I think we have a big road project coming up. So with that, our master plan also calls for this area to be industrial, so it is consistent with our plan. In terms of a recommendation, if you're considering approval, we wanted to include a condition that blowing materials from the stockpile or the crushing shall be addressed through dust mitigation. The limitation to 15 days per year and the hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Item number 3 is about the height of those stockpiles. If we want to put a limitation in there or have a conversation about it, that's item 3. The requirements of the township engineer, that I mentioned that drainage facility as well as the wetland delineation, and any other condition in his report would have to be met. The general condition about consistency with local, state, or federal agencies, and then any other conditions that you might have after reviewing this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with that, I'll open up the public comment section, and then I'll invite the applicant up after that. Seeing no public comment, I'll go ahead and close that portion. And James or Jim, what would you like us to call you?
James, please.
Okay.
I'm a second, so it
You
always
got
is
it.
easier. Dad was Jim, I was James, made it life easier. Thank you. I thought that summary was spot on. Basically, Granford's Gravel is a ready-mix producer. We produce ready-mix concrete. Contractor calls. We deliver them the concrete in the trucks. More often than you would think, people, it's math, it's science, it's, hey, I need this much concrete. Real world versus theory, and I think, you know, a 1 cubic yard makes 81 square feet at 4 inches thick. It's not always realistic. Our trucks come back with concrete on it. We pour it on the ground, scrape it up. It gets hard on the ground, scrape it up, break it, and for years and years, other people would come and pick it up from us. I came along 5, 6 years ago, and I'm seeing all these other trucks take this material, and we have a Dykma Excavating, or Dykma Excavators is an excavating contractor, and we would buy 21 AA from people. So I'm seeing we're giving people this material, then we're buying it from them, we're giving it to them for free. Somebody's making money, why shouldn't we make money? So we've done this at 3 of our other locations now, where we stopped giving it away to people, went to their planning commissions or township boards and said, hey, can we get a crushing operation for 3 weeks to 4 weeks a year? We are just 3 weeks, and have had approval at those 3. We have had 0 complaints about the crushing operation at those. So this was the next one on the list to say, hey, can we crush here? It's industrial. We did rezone this part of the parcel 2 years ago, I want to say. And that's kind of what we're looking to do. Real quickly, I think we couldn't find the old site plans, but just to, here's the detention pond, here's the concrete drive, here's our ready-mix operation. So the trucks typically come back, and they come back here, and this is where they wash out their trucks. Or they put any like sizable leftover concrete, they put on the ground here, and then they wash out their trucks here, and this is a reclaimer system. So this is where I think Todd's maybe number 3 about the pH level. This is where the truck washout is, and he says he wants, I think it is actually on the site plan listed as truck washout. So that happens here, and then we stockpile it here, and currently now it gets trucked off site. So what I would like to do, and what we've done at the other places is, this is, well, you can see the pond so you can understand where it is. Here, this is bermed up high on each side. Part of the problem, and I'll take full responsibility for, I had Excel redraw the site plan that was provided to you. Oversight by me, I didn't look at it close enough. There's the topo that is shown on the aerial. If you study the topo well enough on the site plan, it doesn't match the aerial view. So I think Todd was looking at the topo and saying, hey, this water's running off in different ways because the contours are showing, up in the 762, but we had a problem that Todd knew of and was aware of in 2019 and 2020 with this pond, and some of it had to be redesigned. We put a new structure in here that helps filter the water, and when that happened, we had removed a bunch of material from in here and brought this lower, so the survey or the topo with the contours weren't accurate, and that's my fault. I should have caught that and had Excel redo it, but the current Kent County GIS doesn't have topos more recent than 2014 here, so if we have required that, we will have to, pay to get that done, which I understand, and that is a valid concern for you guys. I would just like to point out, this was taken this morning. It was finally calm enough to throw a drone up in the air and go get it. And the amount of rain that we've had recently, that's dry. We don't have a storm. We're not gonna have a stormwater problem here. But again, that's, up to you guys. We do have, and I can have it if you require it, drawn on the map. Here's a wetland delineation. You can see right here, we're not in the wetlands for this project. It's dry. It gets green because it's not gravel down there right now. But trucks will now come in, hopefully, come back here, dump their crushed concrete or their broken concrete on the ground here, and then continue back through here to get through the reclaimer, and that's where they'll do their truck washout, and that's where that pH level is a concern. That's why we have a stormwater prevention plan that's got to be approved by Eagle. Our plant manager here has a stormwater operator certificate from Eagle. He has to test the pH level in this pond to make sure that type of water is not reaching this pitch drain. So I feel confident that we're handling that part of it okay. Truck traffic, I think she touched on. We're not really increasing truck traffic because right now, we're taking the broken concrete away, and now we'll just take the crushed concrete away. I would say the broken concrete has to be hauled in a rubble tub train, which really can only get up to 48 tons, where crushed concrete can get hauled in aluminum trains, and that can get hauled in 54-ton trains. So you theoretically could have less traffic expert in the site, but that's kind of what we're asking for.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll open it. Appreciate you kind of explaining, acknowledging the miss on Excel. Of course, we have confidence that you're going to go take care of those things that you told us, but we can only go by what's currently in front of us. And there are probably a couple key pieces that my fellow commissioners have curiosity on as they think about this motion. And then obviously just reiterating the 15 days is because that was what was put in the public hearing. So those that were noticed around you received a notice that they're asking to do this 15 days a year. And so that's why we have to be very specific, not maybe 3, maybe 4.
Oh, absolutely. This one is a request for 15 days. I apologize for missing it on the difference between the narrative and the site plan application.
So with that, I'll open it up to fellow commissioners for questions, comments, or things that you would be looking for.
I guess my question would be, where are your other 3 locations, and what was the height of the stockpile approved at those locations?
I don't think we had a requirement at any of those. One is in Muskegon. One is on Coit Avenue on the northeast side of Grand Rapids, Coit and Woodworth, Jupiter, right by Northview High School, if that makes it more similar. And then one is Granville off 196, right by the castle.
Okay.
Is the other one. That's probably 40 feet high.
So would you say that's what you need? I mean, what's the height that you need?
We would like 40 feet. It makes it, the higher you can put that cone, the less area, surface area that it takes up.
Okay.
So we do have, there's a lot of property, but it gets tied up fast, so.
Lene, for scale, like these industrial buildings to the right in the photo, they're roughly
Ooh.
35 feet tall, you think? 40?
That's a good question. I believe our industrial district is 35.
Okay.
But let me check. I'd have to look at those site plans. 35 is our maximum in industrial. We do allow things like silos and, you know, as you can see, their building has taller components to it because it is industrial.
You seem to have a decent amount of knowledge on stormwater, so hearing that you changed the outlet control structure in the last few years and seeing that the pond is full in today's drone and it's full in the aerial on my phone, what's going on with your pond? Why doesn't it drain?
It's a wet basin. It's designed to stay wet at all times.
There's maybe a foot of the top of your outlet control structure is exposed. Is that how it's designed?
Yeah.
Both in the photo today and, okay.
Yep. So that's where the water, the water has to get up to that height to
Right.
then be able to.
So I'm saying like detention volume is, it only has like this much volume. It's almost nothing.
Yeah. There's, in the original site plan, there was 1.4 acres of storage in that
Okay.
pond. And then when we had the modified in 2020, they had to go through Eagle to get approved for all that storage capacity, so.
I guess for height reference, as you're looking at the building in the center, you got the tower next to it, the blue. How tall is that?
75 feet probably.
That's 75?
Those are cement silos.
Okay.
So.
I'd like to maybe go back to Todd's comment C, just talking about like the material storage area, high pH, how the stormwater will actually be handled in this area, like what the plan is. I appreciate the fact you have someone on site, they have a mitigation plan. We don't necessarily see that, but then that is approved by Eagle. So when you're shifting the work that is happening on this site, are you going back to Eagle? Is Eagle notified?
Eagle wouldn't have to be notified for this because
you're
the
just
wash.
continuing to measure the wash
Yeah,
out.
yep. Eagle's concerned about the pH is when it's the not hardened concrete. It gets put into that, these bays right here. And basically, it's a filter system. It goes into their 6 bays filter system, and you wash their chutes out. They wash their drum out. They put all that wet, high water ratio into those, and that's what has a high pH level. It's not the actual hardened concrete that has high pH. So yes, one could argue that when you put the concrete on the ground, if it's raining right then and that would leave the site, it couldn't leave the site based on the current topo, but that's when pH would be an issue because you'd have the water mixing with that hard concrete, but that's not really realistically what goes on in the real world. We use the washout facility as designed by Eagle to mitigate our stormwater.
Todd did say he's comfortable working with the applicant, you
Okay.
know, towards that solution and, you know, has a strong working relationship with you all too.
Okay,
We spoke today.
thank you for that. What else? Tim, you're the stormwater person, so you're the one that always helps us look through that lens
Yeah.
strongly.
So I have experience on a smaller, tighter site in Kentwood probably 10 years ago that they didn't have anywhere to lay anything down, and it was a little different but similar. And their circumstances were that no stormwater could leave the site. They had an agreement that they pump all the stormwater as it would potentially build up on the site. So I guess there are concerns with pH and some of the chemicals. I do think that the infrastructure that they have on the site and their operations meet Eagle and township standards. I also think that they have more room on this site as compared to that other one that I reviewed back in the day. So I am still worried. I don't think the pond is functioning perfectly, but I'll take that up with Todd. But I guess, long story short, I can get past the stormwater challenges here, knowing that additional review by Todd is
Okay.
coming.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts before I hear a motion or before someone?
So where would the stockpile be? I get the crushing area, would it be in that same area? Would it just pile up?
Yeah. To answer your question, the broken could, let's say be in this area and the crusher would come in and set up and then put the stockpile right in that same area shown on the site plan as, I believe we called it proposed area. So it'd all be just north of the current detention basin.
move that picture down just a little bit. Thank you.
Are the soil piles the same height as the proposed gravel, crushed gravel?
Currently? No, those are pretty small piles. But this pile that you see on site, that's up 8 to 9 feet contour wise, than this area down here. Which this area is also like that 8 to 9 probably feet lower than concrete drive,
Okay.
which I think helps mitigate some of the height concerns if, you know, if you're down in a hole.
Lene, do you recall the business type immediately to the west? They manufacture stuff, but I see enormous HVAC right there on the edge of their building, and I'm
There's,
worried about the dust they might suck in.
I think there's Grand Rapids Aseptic, believe one of those companies was making or part of the COVID vaccine.
But
There's also Ferguson Plumbing over there.
they were noticed for this meeting,
They
right?
were noticed. Yes.
I mean, I would like to maybe see in that recommendation, especially if you are doing this on, in other spaces. I have been very near and dear to concrete crushing, and it is very dusty and it is very loud. I also do not live in an industrial district, so different set of circumstances. However, I think as part of the recommendation, I know, Lene, you have that kind of listed as one, but I think it would be worth working with engineer and planner to kind of show us what is your dust mitigation plan during those crushing weeks. And if the screening is enough, or if you're doing, you know, what if you had to do in other areas to help with that?
I guess I would just ask for more guidance on what you are requesting. We have a third party coming and do it. We don't do the actual crushing if they put water on it. That's not what we do. They're governed by MIOSHA or MSHA, and if they meet those standards, I don't know. I can't leave here just with that question, and I don't think I can provide you with sufficient points next time. So I need some more guidance on what you would request. If the screening is there and we haven't had any issues at other sites, I don't know how to best respond to your inquiry, I guess.
I think even just sharing with our planner, this is what this operation or process looks like.
Okay.
So we
Or
can have
how you're gonna measure, or what you're gonna do during crushing time. I mean, there's all different ways, right, to understand the amount of dust or particles or what's happening or not happening, especially as you're getting started.
So maybe they could provide just more narrative as to the dust mitigation during the crushing process that your third party utilizes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the special land use be approved, subject to the 6 conditions in the planner's memorandum dated June 2nd, 2025. And add a 7th item, that the township engineer review the stormwater detention pond for proper function.
Did you want to fill in a height requirement?
Thank you. And that the height of the crushed aggregate is not to exceed 35 feet.
So I have a motion by Bradshaw,
I will support.
support by McLean. Do a roll call vote. McLean?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Mansfield Broach, yes. Lindsay?
Yes.
Cutler?
Yes.
So motion passes, and you have the township, you have the planner memo
Yes.
with all those conditions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, unfinished business. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 8, which is public comment with an extension of up to 5 minutes for any public. We only have one member of the public here. He's like, wrap this
Okay.
up. Seeing none, I will close that section of the agenda and move to commissioner comments. I already gave you all my comments, but I would be remiss if I just didn't leave you all with a really heartfelt thank you, especially to our township planner who has helped do so much education with me over the years. And as a commission, I'm so grateful for each of you in the work that you have done to help not only shape this community what it is today, but have so much forefront and thought as we move into what it needs to look like. I'm thrilled to be a member and resident of this community, and I look forward to all the fun stuff before you. You never know, I might show up in the public
You become a heckler?
one of these days.
But you're gonna leave your pitchfork at home, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll all be like, how quickly she forgot.
I guess I just want to say thank you, Jody, for especially your architectural standard focus. You certainly brought that expertise to this board, and it's been very important in making sure that our buildings look really nice on the outside and helping us to improve our standards and seeing all that work through. I've always appreciated your confidence to speak up when some of us are slow, so thanks for getting us started sometimes.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
am an out loud processor.
And just overall, thanks for doing this work and being a great public servant. We need more
Thank
people
you.
like you in our community.
Appreciated.
So is this your last meeting?
This is likely my last meeting.
Okay.
Yes, yep. I assume,
I think it's on our agenda
I'm
Wednesday to appoint
assuming
another
that
person.
someone is in the around the, I tried to give a long runway, so. With that, any correspondence or staff updates?
None. Our next meeting is July, let me get the date for you all. July 21.
Oh, that's like a long ways away.
It's a long ways away.
All
It
right.
might be a action-packed agenda, so.
Might be full. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion to adjourn, made by Maceville, supported by Bradshaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, look at record, not quite record time, but pretty,
Less than an hour, pretty good.
No.
pretty good.
Yep, you gotta stay on.